Ma'am. And we will now release the 5th Annual Economic Outlook Survey. For the same, may I now request Mr. Sandeep Ghosla, Director General, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and our respected dignitaries from the Consulates General, Mr. Huseyin AYDIN, Commercial Attache, Consulate General of Turkey, Dr. Yasukata Fukahori, Consul General, Consul Generate of Japan, Mr. Martin Maier, Consul General, Consulate General of Switzerland, and Mr. Rajan Raje, CEO and founder, Nycam Solutions, and Chairman, MSME Forum, Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to kindly come on the stage for the release. Yes, we can now open it. Thank you so much, sirs. We will be sending the ebooks out shortly, so we request all of you to kindly send us your email ID so we can send the ebooks out to you. We now start with our panel discussions. For all our participants who've joined us virtually, kindly post any questions that you have during the session on the chat box, and if time permits, we will have them answered. Our first panel discussion of today is on the topic, opportunities for Indian MSMEs in world market. For this panel, I invite to the dais our eminent moderator, Mr. Viraj Kulkarni, CEO and founder, Pivot Management Consulting, OPC, and we already have our esteemed panelists on the dais. I'll just introduce them once again. Mr. Huseyin AYDIN, Commercial Attache, Consulate General of Turkey. Dr. Yasukata Fukahori, Consul General, Consulate General of Japan. Mr. Martin Maier, Consul General, Consulate General of Switzerland. Mr. Eske Knudsen Rosenberg, Consul General and Head of Innovation, Center of Denmark, Consulate General of Denmark, who is joining us virtually. Over to you, Mr. Kulkarni. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Thank you, Gayatri. Well, it's very interesting, the previous speaker, our chief guest, talked about the advantage of coming after, the economist comes in. And I can say that after the economist and after hearing a banker and an expert on the top of it, my work actually gets lighter. Okay. Nevertheless, good afternoon to all our guests in India and the Middle East. Good morning in UK and Europe, and good evening in the rest of Asia, because I understand we have people logging into some of these locations. To the excellencies and the large number of overseas and local attendees, thank you from the MSME Committee of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce for joining us. Our panel is on opportunities for Indian MSMEs in the world market. So before we dwell on today's subject, let me share something interesting. Our previous chief guest spoke about the MSME accounting for over 33% of the GDP as well as 45% of the export. We have a ministry which propagates the development of the MSME segment. The recent union budget announced certain benefits for MSMEs. The MSME segment of Bombay Chamber of Commerce last year, along with the Asian Development Bank, was responsible in promoting exports between India, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. And this was a project which benefited quite a few entrepreneurs. Another interesting point is over 700 SMEs are listed on the Indian stock markets with a market cap exceeding $1.2 billion. This just gives you a flavor of the market, how the markets are looking. The theme of this session is exports. The merits of exports you've heard, but let me add a few more. It creates employment. It creates revenue, generation of trade surpluses, widening the market, better margins, and much more. All this is definitely known to you. But what it summarizes, it creates wealth. So wealth creation is what benefits everybody involved in this, whether it's a nation or it's an individual. Our distinguished experts on this panel represent 90 years of collective experience. They represent what it takes to export with a focus on how they have been doing it. This will provide valuable insights and potential opportunities to collaborate. The theme is wide and diverse and has something for everyone, and most importantly, the best practices. Indian embassies represented globally, 110 countries, undertake to assist Indian institutions in exports. India's new fact book 2023, Switzerland's impact study on Swiss investments in India, as well as Turkey's COSGAP enterprise reports, provides good insights for those who want to understand the world of exports and especially for the MSME. Besides in-country chambers of commerce, the trade associations supported by the respective countries are important avenues for engaging in exports. Exports can be in multiple formats as we know it. The ADB project highlighted that a successful export strategy requires an excellent understanding of the local needs and a local presence. The local presence, what you would probably hear from our speakers, commences by appointing a representative on ground, followed by strategic alliances, and finally a presence on ground. It's a three-stage process. On this panel, we will touch on the drivers for exports, challenges, potential collaborative initiatives, what makes certain jurisdictions attractive for Indian SMEs, and how they utilize Indian SMEs for innovations. At this, I'll probably use an analogy for us to share of how India transformed, and I would use the capital market because that's the space I come from. So many of you would have heard that India is now a T+1 market. India used to be a T+ endless market in 1990s. We never knew when the settlements would happen. And I know from my past avatar that whenever I used to meet the foreign portfolio investors overseas, they always talked about settlements not happening. This 27th January, India became the first country in the world to roll out T+1 across 5,500 securities, a transformation where we learned the best practices from the other market, transformed, created confidence. I'm sure this particular session would also unravel some of the best practices of the global leaders that we have on stage and learn from them as to what can be done to develop the markets. With this, what I'll do is I'll quickly introduce our speakers. His Excellency Huseyin AYDIN serves as Commercial Attache of the Consul General Republic of Turkey, Mumbai, since June 2019. He worked for the Turkish Ministry of Trade as foreign trade expert since 2010. Prior to that, he worked in the General Directorate of Exports of the Ministry, where he actively participated in several trade promotion activities and made legal framework and procedures of the state aids for the Turkish companies. Responsible for southern and western states of India, he actively engages in promoting activities and related to Turkish products. His Excellency Eske, I would call him Eske. I hope it's okay, Eske? Right, thanks. Thank you for joining, and I know you have some other commitments, but thank you for pulling yourself out of that. In December 2021, he took over the position of Consul General, Head of Innovation and Trade at the Consulate General of Denmark in Bengaluru, and now contributes to the mission of delivering on and beyond the unique green strategic partnership between Denmark and India. In 2018, His Excellency joined Innovation Center, Denmark, a collaboration between the Ministry of Higher Education and Science and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Denmark. Prior to joining the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark, Mr. Rosenberg worked with innovation and business development in Triple Helix Cluster Organization in Danish audio technology. He has multiple skill sets. I won't go into all the details of it. I hope it's so fine with you. He holds a BSc in Business Administration and Organization Communications and an MSc in Management of Innovation and Business Development. His academic pursuits brought him to Central Michigan University, Michigan, USA, and École Supérieure de Commerce Extérieur, Paris, France. Our third panelist is His Excellency Fukahori Yasukata. He's been in India since 2021 as Consul General of Japan, India. Interestingly, this is his second diplomatic innings in India, the first one in 2011, when he came in as the Consular Embassy of Japan in India. He has a long illustrious career in diplomatic circles, starting in 1983 with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Economic Affairs Bureau of MOFA. Besides, he held diverse positions in Japan's embassies at Burma, UK, Thailand, USA, Vietnam. Additionally, he served in diverse responsibilities during his 10 years with MOFA. I think I can also say that he's also an academic enthusiast with various degrees, including a BA Masters in Economics from Waseda University, Master of Science from Chulalongkorn University, Doctorate in Environmental Economics from Vietnam National University, while he continues his pursuit by enrolling in Masters of Economics from Melbourne and a PhD program in University of Maryland. I'll move on to our next speaker. It's sort of a homecoming for me. Homecoming as in, I spent some time in Switzerland, so that's how it is. His Excellency Martin Maier is Consul General of Switzerland in Mumbai. He's born on 8th May 1965, a Swiss national with citizenship of Solothurn. He grew up in Switzerland where he finished his education and obtained a diploma in advanced studies of international relationship. He's married and a father of an adult daughter. Mr. Maier joined the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs in 1991 and was subsequently posted to Spain, Libya, Thailand, Portugal, Ecuador, Zimbabwe, and Germany. Prior to his current assignment, His Excellency served in Switzerland as Deputy Head of Economic Affairs at the Federal Department of Foreign Affairs, Head of Foreign Interest in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and Consul General of Vietnam. So as you see, we have a very illustrious set of speakers today. And as introductions, I'm Viraj Kulkarni, member of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce, MSME Committee on Private Equity, and I've been an ex-banker. I used to be the country head for the custody business for Citibank India, Citibank Switzerland, JP Morgan, BNP, before I started my own entity. It's a pleasure to be with you all. And the way we would like to do is start with a sort of a Q&A session. And I'll put the questions to the panelists. And thereafter, we can, I stop here and then I'll let them speak. Okay? So this is a question that's very open, and Eske, you can also comment on that here. What, in your opinion, are the growth drivers behind the SME export of your respective countries? It could be demand, innovation, ease of availability, consistency, government and industry initiatives. Floor's open to us panelists. Who wants to go first? Eske? Right.
Yes, I can start. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to Mumbai today. And second of all, so sorry for not following up with actually being there in my physical self. But happy that we could manage with this virtual connection. Let me try to answer your question relatively shortly and very subjectively from my perspective. In Denmark, basically, the main driver for export is the need for export. That with 5.6 million people, simply need export to drive and to secure the welfare model and the social security and benefits that we as citizens of Denmark have gotten used to over the years. So in short, basically, we have a company in Denmark. We need to think export from day one if we want to also be competitive at a global market. Our home market is simply not enough. If we look at some of the numbers, Denmark basically runs on SMEs. Around 99% of the Danish industry consists of SMEs. They employ around 65% of all total employed persons in Denmark. And if we look then a little bit into the numbers of how are they then doing with exports to SMEs, what is a little bit interesting is that while 97% of Danish companies are SMEs and also 97% of Danish companies who are doing exports are SMEs, they only account for around 26% of exports. So basically, one of the main focus areas for us as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or Trade Council or Innovation Center Denmark or the Danish industry associations is basically how to try to increase exports for the SMEs. But the main driver is basically the need for thinking export from day one and the upbringing of the welfare model and social benefits that we as Danish citizens have become used to.
Appreciate, thanks.
It's very interesting. I just realized that Denmark and Switzerland have a lot in common. Also in Switzerland, 99% of the SMEs, of the companies existing in Switzerland are SMEs. And they are responsible for 2/3 of the employment in Switzerland. So it's nice to see that we share with our friends in Denmark a very similar situation. As Denmark, also Switzerland is a relatively small market. We are a little bit bigger. And I think the main driver for Swiss companies, SMEs, to export is that Switzerland is a highly competitive and innovative market. So a Swiss company who wants to be successful has to invest a lot in innovation and development, and then the Swiss market is too small, and as fast as possible they have to try to go first over the borders within Europe, and then as much as possible international. So I think the biggest driver for Swiss SMEs to export is the high costs and the need of innovation and development.
Appreciate, thanks.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to this Bombay Chamber conclave. I've been invited to other economic meetings by, for example, FICCI, CII, IMC, AI, World Center, IBJ. There are many groups in Mumbai. But this is the first time for me to, I met some of people personally, but this is the first time for me to participate in the session like this by Bombay Chamber. And as I understand it, somebody said that Bombay Chamber is one of the oldest, most prestigious organization in India, in Mumbai particularly. So I'm very happy to be here. SMEs are also very important in Japan. 99% of companies are MSMEs in Japan, and over 70% of the employees are for MSME sectors. This is important. Regarding the India-Japan relations, I'm quite optimistic that bilateral relation, economic relation, will expand in coming years. Japanese Prime Minister Kishida and Indian Prime Minister Modi met last March, and then announced 5 trillion yen investment target from Japan to India in 5 years, which is about $40 billion. It was considered ambitious. However, after 1 year, we have almost achieved 50% of the target. It was a 5-year target, but within just 1 year, we accomplished nearly $20 billion target, $20 billion investment from Japan to India. So India's economy is expanding, and then Japanese companies started understanding that the Indian market is not as difficult as we thought before. Indians market was considered very difficult for Japanese companies to crack in until about 10 years ago. However, that many companies, major companies, I mean large companies like Suzuki, starting from Suzuki, and also Honda, Toyota, Panasonic, Sony, Hitachi, all those companies seems to be making a good success nowadays. They are making profits. And seeing all those major companies, large companies' profit making, many SMEs started making their new investments into India. So that is my prediction, which is going to happen in 5-10 years from now. And also, China plus one is the very important factor to encourage all those companies to come out to India. Because nowadays it's very difficult for Japanese companies to make operations in China. But many Japanese company businessmen were arrested by the Chinese authorities without any reason, just doing the business activities. So they are considered spies, and then arrested for a few months, for sometimes a few years. So it's very risky nowadays to make operations in China. And in India, such things will not happen, we know. That's why that India is considered a very, very important target. However, that in order for anybody to make new investments and operations, finding a good partner is the most important part. There are many Japanese companies who failed to make investments in India. They ended up in finding wrong partners, like Daiichi Sankyo. Daiichi Sankyo is the mega pharmaceuticals company of Japan, and also NTT, which is also mega ITT company of Japan. They made a huge investment into India in 2008, but they have to go out from this market 6 years after, because the partners they chose were not actually reliable. But many Japanese companies who found good partners are making very good operations and the projects. There's one thing I would like to mention. In order for you to find a good partner and to be a trusted partner, the cultural and the spiritual understanding is very, very important. And for that sense, that the Japanese counterparts could be the best partners for you. There is kind of a forgotten history. But scholars and people like me knew this aspect of two countries many years. But most of the Japanese people, and probably almost all of the Indian people, do not know the fact which I'm going to tell you now. That is the closeness, religious closeness between two countries. In India, I admire Indians' religious aspect, I mean, particularly Hinduism. There are many temples and shrines in India that you go to shrines and pray for gods. That's what we do in Japan as well. Japan is a religious-free country. We don't have any religions, but the religious culture is very, very rich. So that the Japanese people go to shrines and temples and pray, like you do every day. And then many of the Japanese gods are actually Hindu gods, which is not known to Japanese people, particularly for Indians. For example, that Lord Shiva, very much respected god in India. Lord Shiva came to Japan 1,500 years ago, but he is called Daikokuten because he transformed himself into different name, so that it's not conceived as the Indian god, but he is actually, Daikokuten is actually Shiva. Likewise, Saraswati became Benzaiten. Benzaiten is also very popular god in Japan. And Lakshmi became Kishoten. And Indra became Taishakten. I found that about 15 important Indian gods became Japan, and then they are worshipped by Japanese people every day. So that the Japanese people and the Indian people have very, very similar spiritual culture. Actually, it's the same spiritual culture. So that's what we can. I'm saying that India people and the Japanese people are two people in the world which can share the very close and intimate and spiritual understanding. That's why that I'm very more optimistic in the future that you'll be able to find a good partner with the Japanese companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Huseyin.
My name is Huseyin AYDIN. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sandip Kosla and all Bombay Chamber team to invite Turkish Consulate to be a part of this very efficient conclave. On Monday, very early in the morning, unfortunately, we have very massive, large-scale earthquakes in southern part of Turkey, which affected at least 11 to 12 different cities. First of all, I would like to thank Indian government and the whole helping nations for their prompt support to Turkish people. We felt Indian friendship and solidarity, and we have the same word meaning friend in Turkish language, which is dost. We felt in this very difficult time being dost with India. And thank you again for your kind support and for your all good wishes during the last, 2 days. So I am the commercial attaché for Turkish Consulate in General Mumbai for the last 3.5 years. And during my time here, I met many Indian importers, exporters, businessmen, and all of them are very keen on doing business with Turkey. The interest from the Indian side to do business with Turkey has grown exponentially. We have very strong bilateral trade relations. Our countries have strengthened and deepened bilateral economic cooperation in multiple ways. According to Turkish official sources, bilateral trade between India and Turkey has crossed over 12.3 billion USD in 2002. Turkish imports from India was 10.7 billion USD, and Turkish exports to India was 1.65 billion USD in 2002. So which means 9 billion USD of trade deficit in favor of India. So the Indian official figures can be a little bit different from Turkish ones because both countries record the trade figures in different payments. That's why, when you check Indian sources, you can see some difference. When it comes to SMEs, after my small introduction on Turkey-India business, we also have the same structure of SMEs. They are the backbone of export of Turkish economy. They are the responsible, maybe more than 60% of Turkish exports. For us, the main drivers, we are exporting companies, which are mainly SMEs. They are very good at, unfortunately, and we have the same situation in India, they are very good at low technology products and also medium technology products. However, as Turkish government, we are trying to increase their capabilities to manufacture value-added products. And also another point would be their target markets, their, let's say, their main markets, and our companies are very familiar with doing business with European companies, European importers, because we have the same European standards, industrial capacity in our country. Given the last outcome, last expectation for economic projections, I think our MSMEs should target not only European markets, but also they should open to other faraway markets, Asian, ASEAN markets, and North American markets. So what I'm telling you this, for SMEs, they should change their perceptions, and they should try to go far away from their comfort zone, from their comfort market. Thank you.
Really good, very thought-provoking thoughts. So I'll just move on to the next one, and this is for His Excellency Martin Maier. And Eske, you could also join in for Denmark related. What is it that makes Switzerland or Denmark attractive for Indian SMEs to set up their operations in Switzerland? This is, I'm moving it a bit differently, of Indian institutions who want to set up in Switzerland and thereby look at exporting from there. So what are the drivers?
Viraj, thank you for this question. Switzerland is among the most competitive business centers in the world. There are numerous good reasons to locate an Indian SME in Switzerland. Innovation and technology, a liberal economic system, political stability, which almost goes to be a political boring system, close links with foreign markets, excellent education and healthcare systems, an outstanding infrastructure, a very high standard of living, and a competitive tax system. Excuse me. Switzerland ranks as the most innovative country in the world for the 12th consecutive year. Switzerland offers an excellent ecosystem for fostering innovation. The key pillars are the high level of education, significant investments in research, and the strong infrastructure. But the open mindset and extensive industry-academia collaboration provide the needed boost for innovation to thrive. There are 140 Indian companies in Switzerland, and 60 of them are from Maharashtra. More than half of all the Indian companies in Switzerland are in IT or life science. Indian companies use Switzerland as a gateway to the European market and as a booster for their innovation capacities.
This is very interesting. Eske, would you want to comment something on with regard to Denmark?
Yeah, there is a reason for the flag of Switzerland and Denmark to be so equal, and that's because I could basically copy-paste what my Swiss colleague just said. But in short, what attracts Indian and global companies to Denmark, besides some of the same argument as mentioned here, well, obviously it's not for the market size, but it's for the ecosystem within some strong sectors. Sectors being sustainability, clean energy, for just to mention one concrete. Health and life science is not that unlike Switzerland. Our technology scene is also advanced, in particular when it comes to creative applications, deep tech, and our food environment is also pretty interesting, as seen from players abroad. We are, contrary to Switzerland, placed a little bit closer to, let's say, the Nordic region of Europe, and maybe that can sometimes be the decisive factor if that is where you want to look for market expansion opportunities. The education system, as mentioned here, is a key ingredient because that fosters creativity, it fosters innovation, it fosters that interesting ecosystem that makes it interesting from a company from outside to go in and find partners, find investment cases, find joint ventures, and together explore market opportunities in a European context. And it's basically a little bit the same way when looking from Denmark to India. These are sectors where we see most action in terms of exports from Denmark to India. It's basically the same sectors that attracts investments from India to Denmark. And it's because we need those partnerships that was mentioned by our Japanese colleague. We need, of course, to build up trust, but we also need to find complementary partners where we maybe don't know exactly the same things, but when we put it together, we can open new markets, we can open up new segments, new products, new solutions. So I copy paste what my Swiss colleague said as well.
Eske, I think what I'll do is I'll now give you the right of first choice. The next question: how do you think the Danish companies are utilizing India for innovation? Because I know you are based in Bangalore, and one of your responsibilities is to make use of innovation. And Martin, I'm sure there's much more than cut paste after he's finished.
Well, we definitely see that the large Danish companies have seen the light for many years and have had a presence in India for many years. Regardless of it being Novo Nordisk, the biggest insulin producing company in the world, or Maersk, the biggest shipping company in the world, or Vestas or Siemens Gamesa, some of the biggest players in the offshore wind segment. All of these companies, they have big setups in India. In Bangalore, where I'm based, in the beginning, I think it was a matter of basically reducing costs and at the same time having a high level of quality when it came to different back-end IT assignments. But the trend that we see is that it's moving from back-end to front-end. It's basically the core backbones, technology-driven backbones of these large Danish companies that makes them invest further into India and move entire business units to India to drive global growth. That is definitely a trend that we are seeing. What we see the other way around is that big Indian IT companies, they go to Denmark to find the complementary yet smaller partners and invest in them, be it in a joint venture or in an acquisition format. It's within design, it's within bio and life science, it's within sustainability. So it's kind of the same sectors that are in play, but Denmark definitely look to India for scale when it comes to access to talent, and not cheap talent, but good talent that can drive the future of those companies forward.
Okay, so what do you want to take? I think we lost him.
He dropped out?
Looks like.
Oh, he's back.
No, he's back.
Eske, are you over?
I did not hear. If there was a question for me, it will be difficult for me to respond because I didn't hear it.
No, so we're just moving on to the next speaker. Yeah? Okay. Martin.
Thank you. Switzerland is extremely strong, as I said before, in innovation, whereas India's strength lies in digitalization, where we, as Switzerland and our Swiss companies, have a lot to learn, and this is one of the aspects Swiss companies are coming and looking to India. Switzerland is close to Indian in values and culture. Both are democracies and both are multicultural societies. However, and that's a very important point, if we compare and look what would be possible in Indo-Swiss relations, we do not have a free trade agreement with India. India and the EFTA countries, which are Norway, Liechtenstein, Iceland, and Switzerland, are currently in negotiation for a free trade agreement. And that would be a complete game changer. If we look what is possible with a free trade agreement, we have to look, for example, at China. In India, we have 330 Swiss companies present, invested in India. In China, with a free trade agreement, we have over 1,000 Swiss companies. So only in the number of Swiss companies present in India, with a free trade agreement, we could threefold the Swiss presence and the collaboration between India and Switzerland. If we look at another market, and there I go into foreign investments, Switzerland is the 12th biggest investor in India. In the biggest economy of the world, in the United States, we are number 6. Switzerland has currently investments of about $10 billion in India and $300 billion in the US. Only the Swiss investments in R&D in the US amount to $10 billion. The sky is the limit when it comes to Swiss investments into India. What we need is a trade deal. A free trade agreement will help enhance Swiss-Indian trade and bring up our economic relations to the next level. We have to move forward with our trade negotiations, and this is absolutely key and in the interest of both our economies and of SMEs in India and Switzerland. Another important aspect for India, a free trade agreement with EFTA will mean access, especially in regard to Switzerland, to one of the top 20 global economies, to one of the most important international foreign direct investor, and to the innovation hub in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything? I remember from our trip that I did before COVID into Japan, one of the, a lot of associations that we met with. One of the aspirations that they spoke about was, doing more business with India. And a challenge in their mind, or probably a perception and a reality, if I may put all the three together, was, the governance standards, especially in the accounting standards. And, His Excellency Yasukata rightly touched, you create confidence, and when confidence turns into trust, business happens. So I think one of the challenges was how do we address it for us to have more exports, going into the other countries. And this just gets me to the next point, Yasukata, yourself, and Huseyin, you mentioned about the $12 billion of, business coming into India. What are the challenges that you see in exports, and which is, what could also be an expectancy for Indian exporters to look at when they are exporting overseas? There are good learnings. I mean, basically, we're looking for consistency, we're looking quality, we're talking of innovation, we are talking of cost, or we're looking at revenue growth, diversification. But what, in your opinion, are challenges that you see in exporting, your experience vis-a-vis India or other markets?
Thank you very much for the question. But Japan is a country which doesn't have almost no natural resources. The resources we have is humans. And for such a country, the trade is the very important element for us to develop and grow. So that we have no trade barriers almost. Not like Singapore, but we don't have almost no trade restrictions. We have some small restriction on agriculture field, but other factors, it's completely free. So anybody can make investments, and then anybody can make exports into my country. But we have a kind of fastidious taste for any products. So that cracking into our economy, our countries may not be easy, but it's free anyway. So that some countries like USA, some European countries, Switzerland included, and China nowadays, and Koreans, they made a successful entry into our market with their quality products. So that we love quality products. Not necessarily expensive, but the quality products are loved by my country. So that if you have a will and skill, you can come into our country. And one of the most important barrier may be the language barriers. In Japan, unfortunately, nobody speaks foreign languages, including English. So if you would like to crack into our economy market, somebody needs to speak Japanese language. That may be the disadvantage you may have. But otherwise, it's completely free.
Sure, thanks.
Firstly, I would like to mention the top-rated products between both countries, just to understand the trade composition. Then I will answer the question. Turkish imports from India mainly are mineral oils, fuels, machinery appliances, steel, flat steel products, vehicle spare parts, synthetic filaments, fibers, plastics, organic chemicals, cotton, cotton yarn, and cotton textile. As you say, these are mainly raw material and intermediate products for the industrial production in Turkey. I can openly say that we need those materials not only from India, but also from the other countries. Major Turkish export to India: marbles, mainly block marbles, fresh fruits, fresh apples, dried fruits, borax chemical, which is used in many parts of industries across India. Machinery, dishwashers, construction materials, such as stones and plastering materials, iron and steel, oil seeds, aluminium, inorganic chemicals, precious stones such as gold, etc. Again, our main exports to India market consist of raw material and semi-finished products. So our export and import similar between each other. We have some exceptions like fresh and dry fruits for the consumer markets, dishwashers and some machineries, and some very small scale consumer products such as garments for the end user. And in Turkey, we have some large-scale enterprise Indian companies investing in our country. We have Tafe Company, MS Polyplex, GMR Infrastructure, Tata Motors, Mahindra, Reliance, Ispat Steel, Jain Irrigation, Vipro, Dabur, etc. So some investors have only distribution channels, and some others have manufacturing plants. They heavily invest in the country. And today's focus is on Indian MSMEs exports. Given the trade deficit that I mentioned in the first questions, we should have bilateral trade on sustainable basis, which also very crucial for Indian exports to Turkey. So what should we do for Indian exports from India and having collaboration with our country? As you see, Turkey is the industrial hub of the region, has a free trade agreement with European Union, and has the expertise to meet European standards and quality levels. During my tenure here, every time I analyze bilateral trade, I always see the lack of collaboration between both countries' investment in each other. In my introduction, I have already mentioned the top operating Indian companies, which are mainly conglomerates and large-scale enterprises, and we need Indian MSMEs in our country. Indian companies have invested about 126 million USD in Turkey, as per Turkish official records, and Turkish investment in India is about 210 million USD, as per Indian official records. So we should increase the connectivity and trade connections in both countries, not only as suppliers, as buyers between each other. In addition, for Indian MSMEs, Turkey, our country, can be a portal for their exports to Europe, Russia, and Central Asian countries. Indian MSMEs can use Turkey's logistic capabilities and manufacturing infrastructure, utilizing industrial infrastructure, the advantage of abundant, young-age, skilled labor force, European Free Trade Agreement, and European manufacturing standards. Just being located next to Europe, Russia, and some nearby Central Asian countries. And that's why, I mean, for Indian MSMEs, given the current trade composition, they should always look at Turkey as an alternative logistic country and also manufacturing country for their faraway markets. So let's say some raw material and intermediate products can easily be manufactured in India, but when it comes to assembly, being value added before the export, they can use our country. So the main investors in our country are from European countries, like from Germany, from Netherlands. These are the largest investor countries, and Turkey can easily provide nice infrastructure, labor force, and also being connected with Europe and the region much more easier. Thank you.
Thanks. I think in the interest of the time that we just overstepped on to the next panel's discussion. So we will take one or two questions, and that doesn't mean we'll not take more. Many more questions can come in, and that can be sent to the Bombay Chamber of Commerce, to the chat box that Sandeep mentioned about, and it will be put to all the speakers. But when you have such a rich panelist, the temptation for a moderator to ask many more questions is very high. But I'm putting stop to myself. Any questions from the floor? But please keep it crisp. Right. We'll just take this one first.
Yeah, I had a question for you. If you're getting ideas, sorry, excuse me. My name is Shekhar Chitnis. I'm based in California. I'm building a business in India in hydrogen fuel cells. And my question is, as I've listened to you, I had several ideas of what I could do, but I don't have a clear path as to how to get back to you to follow up on those ideas. Could you elaborate of how do we connect with you?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I heard hydrogen fuel cells. That's one of the strategic sector focuses that we are working on. So the way to move forward is that you get my email address and send me an email, and then we take it from there, in short. No, but the way that we work between Denmark and India, in the last 3 years, we basically have experienced an unprecedented momentum between our two nations. The political framework agreed upon by Honorable Prime Minister Modi and our Prime Minister Frederiksen is called Green Strategic Partnership, and it has several tracks with government to government, working groups, with industry to industry collaboration and seminars and workshops and summits, and R&D and academia collaboration. And that's basically why we are here. The Trade Council of Denmark, the Innovation Center Denmark, and the Embassy of Denmark and Consulate General of Denmark. We are basically here to be your entry, where you ask the first questions and then we figure out whether we have anything going on that is interesting for you to tap into and be a part of, or at least it is in my mandate to find the right partners in Denmark with whom you can connect and figure out whether there's anything interesting for you there to explore or not. So on the topic of green fuel cells, please shoot me an email after this. That would be great to discuss further.
Yes, like Denmark, Switzerland, together with India, is part of the solutions, and we have a strong collaboration, especially also when it comes to sustainability in international industries. As the Consul General of Switzerland in Mumbai, I'm a very happy man because I have with me the Swiss Business Hub India. The Swiss Business Hub India is your one-stop shop for any questions about investing in Switzerland or getting connected with Swiss companies. And I have today my colleague Abhinav with me, who will be happy to connect with you in the second row at the wall, who will be happy to connect with you, and he can discuss in detail. He's the man who knows everything from our team, and I would suggest that you get in touch with each other.
In case of Japan, you may know JETRO is the organization receiving such requests. And JETRO office here in Mumbai is receiving hundreds of inquiries and requests every day. But however, I would like to mention that JETRO, likewise our office, is for Japanese companies, basically speaking. So that we try to coordinate for the benefit of Japanese companies with Indian companies. So that please do not expect much from us. And then if you would like to seek the support from Indian, you should actually seek support from the Indian government. And I understand that MIDC is doing a wonderful job. And their coordination with JETRO. So that's probably the direction which you should take.
I am the commercial attache for Turkish Consulate General in Mumbai here. So we are representing Turkish bilateral business in southern and western part of the country. If you have any scope in the northern part of the country, we have another office based in Delhi. Our office is always open to every Indian companies. We are very well connected with Bombay Chamber. We have organized several business missions in cooperation with Bombay Chamber. We can easily share our contact emails with you. You or your team are most welcome to visit our office. We can discuss whatever you are requiring from our country.
So we'll take some more questions. What I suggest is anyone who has a specific question for any panelist, please ask those. If it's a general question, then we could still send it to them. If there are anything specific for anyone, please identify yourself, your company, and please who you are addressing that question to. Yes, Pramod bhai, you want to ask something?
Sir, this question is for all in the sense, sir, what government assistance is being provided in your country to MSMEs, and are there any tax concessions in your country to start the MSME units? And sir, you give any training program for the new entrepreneurs who are entering MSMEs in your respective countries, sir? So this is a small question. You can give answer one line also, no problem, sir. Thank you. And sir, I am wishing the Japanese Consulate all the best for your Japan Day on 13th, sir, in advance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will keep it very short. Switzerland puts at the service of SMEs and all the other Swiss companies an excellent educational system. So we have young, bright, well-educated people which are able to support the companies. When it comes then to go international, we have, as I mentioned before, the team of the Swiss Business Hub India and my Consulate General. And behind the Swiss Business Hub India, we have the official Swiss export and investment promotion agency, Switzerland Global Enterprise in Switzerland, which has a presence all over the world through the Swiss business hubs and our 152 consulates and embassies all over the world. That's what we offer our SMEs and bigger companies to get connected with the world.
In Japan, we have a fund for SMEs, but that's for Japanese companies, naturally. So that I understand that the Ministry of Industry in Maharashtra may have such schemes. But in Japan, we support the Japanese SMEs under METI, Ministry of External Economy and Industry.
In Turkey, we have one dedicated institution for SME promotion. We have COSGAP institution, but also in my central organization, which is Turkish Ministry of Trade, we are organizing different schemes for SME support, SME exports. So when you participate any trade exhibition across the world, in Dubai, in Germany, you can see hundreds of Turkish companies in trade shows. They are mainly MSME companies, and they are very active, and their participation, their internationalization projects is supported by Turkish government.
Eske, anything that Martin, if I can add something to
Hello. Yeah. Good evening, sir. Actually,
if I can just, so I think Pramod might do that question on Switzerland. At least I can say for that because I lived there for some time. The respective cantons also have certain incentives. For example, the canton of Zurich has a separate program. So even amongst cantons, as they call themselves, they are competing with each other. Right. So I think besides at a government level, the respective cantons compete with each other. It's important to know which canton is suitable for what you want to be. Like Zug is different, from Zurich. So the respective bodies could also be a point. But again, you could route it through Abhinav or them, and they'd definitely be helpful. I just thought I'll add that small piece.
Viraj, thank you very much. We should take you under contract to work with us. But as you rightly said, the colleagues of the Swiss Business Hub India are the one-stop shop to connect with the cantons and the investment promotion agencies.
Eske, I'll do trips into Denmark so that next time I'll speak about you and Japan as well.
yeah. Good evening, sir. And actually, sir, I'm Dr. Vinay Seni from Ostrich Pharma Private Limited, which is incubated with Science IT Bombay. So we are working in healthcare sector. So we are looking forward for how we can actually get the details for startups and MSMEs to run joint R&D projects and run translational activities and develop products under translation research, apart from commercialization activities. So where we will get this exact information, and is there any portal or website available so that we can face the details of all these three countries, and we can start writing proposals and applications, and also start commercialization of already existing products in our country.
Well,
Could I say something?
I'm
Oh,
sure
you can
you
say-
reached out to your embassy in the respective countries and got the contacts which enable you to reach out. And then you have the probably science and innovation hub of Denmark in Bangalore. We have our Consulate General, your colleague Jonas from Swissnex India in Bangalore. But your first contact would probably be the embassy or the Consulate General of India in the area, in the country you are looking for.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can I just add a comment here? I think what you need to look for is the preferred travel agents. So basically, when I traveled, when I planned my travel with my family for the first time to Himachal Pradesh over Christmas, I, for the first time, experienced how it was to work with an Indian travel agent, and it was something different. And I think you should consider all of us here in the panel and the different institutional entry points that we represent as potential travel agents for you, because regardless of how much you have traveled in the rest of the world, it will be very difficult for you to go directly on a vacation to Switzerland or Japan or Turkey or Denmark for that matter and bring back some business. So you need to find a travel agent here locally and build up a relationship and have that local travel agent help you figure out what is the best entry point for you, what should be your focus, what is it that you should get out of it. And in our case, we have Invest in Denmark here, which is similar to the Swiss Business Hub, and Jetro from Japan. They basically help the Indian companies from everything from getting the right insights and data points before they make the decision to try to start up some, fact-finding missions or whatever if they want to invest in Denmark. But if you want to find a technology partner, you mentioned IIT Bombay, your vehicle to Denmark might be different from Invest in Denmark. It might be us in Innovation Center Denmark, where we are right now working with the Technical University of Denmark in forming a strategic alliance with IIT Bombay. And does it fit into one of those, so to speak, highways, the mission that you're on? Because there's a lot of traffic. You need to find the right path and the right route and the right vehicle for growth. It might be us, it might be someone else, but start here before you involve too much of the different geographies yourself. That is, so find your travel agent. That's basically what my message is. Your preferred travel agent.
That's an enriching trip.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a little bit related to the former question that Japan doesn't have concessions for foreign companies at this moment because that we phase for relying on the foreign investment FDI is already passed. However, any companies have equal treatment from the Japanese government. So if you have a legal personality, if you investment into Japan and then establish a company, and if it has a legal personality, even though that is the original from Indian companies, your companies have equal access to the government support. So that there is organizations for SMEs in Japan. If you have a legal personality, you have services from all those agencies equally. So there's no distinction between foreign companies and domestic companies in Japan.
Any last word, Huseyin? No. Okay. So I think we'll close it here. I was tempted to ask 2 questions, but I will also send it by mail. So I thank you everybody for those overwhelming questions as well as the enriching answers that we got. And the representatives of the various consulates who are present here would be available during the break. And in closing, thank you, His Excellencies, Eske is included out there. On behalf of the MSME Committee of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and our committee chief, Raj's behalf, and thank you all for your engagement.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kulkarni and the respected Consul Generals for your highly insightful information on what your respectful countries can offer to our Indian MSMEs. I now request our Director General, Mr. Sandeep Khosla, to present the mementos to our panelists and Okay, Mr. Rajan Raje, please, as a token of our appreciation. So, Mr. Maier, Dr. Fukahori.
Thank you.
Dr. Fukahori. Mr. AYDIN. And we thank Mr. Eske, Knudsen, Rosenberg for joining us virtually. Virtually. We hand it over to you virtually, sir.
Where is he?
I can accept it on his behalf, but I'll give it.
Yeah, please. Ensure that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. Thank you.
That's for Eske.
Can we have a
Yes, sure.
Join photo.
Yeah, can you get Eske virtually there? Then he will be in the photo behind.
I'll go to my colleague.